Greetings and welcome to the world of imbalanced stories. It's a true pleasure to be a part of this amazing journey. Today's topic is about Samsung. Samsung, the renowned electronics giant, has an inspiring story of growth and success. From its early days as a small trading company to its present status as one of the most valuable companies globally, Samsung has left an indelible mark on the world of technology and beyond, with a focus on innovation, quality, and customer satisfaction. We look forward to exploring Samsung's exciting future together. How big is Samsung? The incredible Samsung story. In 1938, Samsung started out as a small trading company that sold noodles, dried fish, and local vegetables. At the time, it was difficult to imagine that Samsung would grow into one of the most valuable companies in the world. Today, Samsung produces much more than you might expect, including skyscrapers, roads, hospitals, clothing, robots, and much more. Libyan Call, who founded Samsung at the age of just making it, even had an aerospace branch that produced helicopters and tanks for the military. But we'll get to all that later. He claims that one night, in a panic, he realized he was wasting his life and that it was time to establish a specific objective for. Despite Samsung's poor origins selling groceries, he decided then to start a business. While to many of us, 3 stars may sound like a mediocre product review, in Korea, the number 3 is very popular because it represents something big and powerful, and a star is used to represent something everlasting. Big, powerful, and everlasting are unquestionably the best adjectives to describe what Samsung has now become. But at first it didn't seem like Samsung was even going to survive, as he struggled to make ends meet. The Korean conflict had a terrible effect on Lee's company and the entire nation. In fact, there was a lack of goods following the war, and Korea was heavily reliant on imports. So Lee decided to diversify his business and produce affordable goods for the general public. He began by building a sugar refinery, and with the money he made from that, he opened the largest woolen mill in the country and people. This enabled Samsung to expand into textiles, and they started making finished goods like clothing. So Lee decided to continue pursuing this strategy more vigorously. Since diversification allowed Samsung to survive, he decided to follow in his footsteps. It didn't take long for Lee to become the richest man in the nation, and he was about to get even richer. In 1968, Samsung executives decided that the next market to enter would be electronics. A year later, Samsung Electronics was fully established, and they produced a 12-inch black and white television. Within a decade, they had become the leading producer of black and white televisions worldwide thanks to their effective assembly line production. This success led them to begin producing color televisions. However, they quickly realized that in order to produce all of these electronic goods, they had to heavily rely on importing a large number of small components from abroad. As a result, they purchased a semiconductor company in order to fully control the supply chain themselves. They started using these chips in their own products as well as selling them to other electronics manufacturers worldwide, creating yet another product line for Samsung. In fact, one of their many clients is Apple, who has used Samsung memory. Amazingly, Samsung built the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and they were also involved in the construction of the previous tallest building in the world. Samsung even owns South Korea's South Korea Shipbuilding Company. The company specializes in building enormous ships and is one of the largest mega shipbuilders in the world. While many of us are probably familiar with the Samsung brand from its success in mobile phones, consumer monitors, and gadgets, that's only the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even mentioned Samsung's non-profit foundation. Korea's largest theme park, Everland, has its own hotel. Samsung Town is owned, which houses a college and a medical facility named the Samsung Medical Center. Yes, Samsung has a hospital. However, while Samsung's expansion into so many other industries may seem like an amazing commercial success story, a young businessperson who begins with a straightforward notion and progressively expands into additional markets and builds an empire. But that is surely not the entire tale. The actual fact is far more divisive. Okay, I'm going to take a very brief break while I ask you for a favor. If you've enjoyed this video thus far, turn on the notification bell for unbalanced stories. I'll be posting short films about business, money, marketing, and more. However, just subscribing doesn't guarantee that you'll see them. A dynasty of corruption. South Korea's government helped Samsung grow by providing favorable loans, tax breaks, and other support measures. Samsung was the biggest company in the electronics industry at the time, benefiting more than others from government support. The government also offered Samsung generous credit terms, but Lee used some of the money to buy the banks that had given him the credit. The economy became overly dependent on Samsung, and if things go wrong for the company, it could have a negative impact on the entire country. Lee Kwan, the son of Samsung's founder, was charged with bribery and corruption and was found guilty of tax evasion and embezzlement. He was pardoned and returned to his position as chairman. Samsung's ties to the government became more contentious after Lee Kwan took over, with the company accused of bribery, corruption, and tax evasion. A former Samsung chief legal counsel claimed that Lee Kwan stole from the company and bribed government officials. Samsung's chairman is seen as more influential than the country's president and is viewed as above the law. The exploding phone. Imagine waking up in your room to discover it filled with smoke, with an overwhelming odor that makes it difficult to breathe, and that your Samsung Note smartphone is on fire. In 2016, incidents similar to this occurred often, and airlines quickly prohibited phones on flights. The fact that Samsung was aware of several of these incidents but initially took no action and was incredibly slow to respond until more phone explosions occurred is concerning. As a result, Samsung was forced to halt production and recall the products, which cost them over $5 billion, in addition to the reputational damage that made matters even worse. The initial replacement product Samsung released also had the same overheating problem because Samsung initially attributed the problem to the battery. But in reality, it was more complicated than that and wasn't caused by a single faulty component that could be easily replaced, but rather was related to the internal design and how the components in the device were essentially crammed too closely together. In many ways, however, the real cause of the issue can be attributed to Samsung. Samsung executives were determined to create something new and change the perception of their company as being followers rather than leaders, so they launched their Galaxy Note series, a hybrid of a tablet and a smartphone. However, for the Note 7 model, Samsung executives wanted to add in a ton of new features, and they also demanded tight deadlines with very specifications. Samsung engineers say that the hurry to complete the product by the deadline grew chaotic as a result of the great pressure to produce it on time. Although they didn't realize it at the time, Samsung rushed the development of the product too much, packing the Note 7 with too many features and not spending enough time on quality control. Of course, before realizing the problems, the company sold millions of these dangerous phones around the world and spent enormous sums of money on marketing it. As if this wasn't already a major pressure disaster, Samsung then tried to suppress information about the entire thing. For example, when people on YouTube created parody videos. Given the very humble beginnings of how Samsung started, it really is quite amazing what the company has now become. And I guess it's because of all the drama both with their products and with their owners. But despite all of that, Samsung has clearly continued to have incredible success. They've developed innovative products like their folding phone. They've generated more revenue than companies like Google and Microsoft, and they'll undoubtedly keep entering all kinds of new markets. Despite facing controversy over government support, Samsung's impact on the economy and its commitment to innovation, quality, and customer satisfaction has solidified its place as a leading technology company. Thank you for joining us on our journey to explore the history and success of Samsung. For more interesting facts, subscribe, like, and share these videos to your friends and family. Until then, see you next time.